All right, hello everybody. Thank you so much for coming to our Contemporary Accounting Forum 2026. This year, our topic, AI and Accounting, Smarter Tools, Sharper Insights. Every year we hold this event in the hopes of talking about a really interesting and innovative topic of the year that focuses in the subject of accounting. We gather panelists from around, some of them here today are lovely alumni, and we are hoping to have this be a really unique panel this time around as we have some demonstrations involved today. And once again, I would like to remind you, for those of you who haven't, sign in if you haven't already upon leaving. There's some goodies over there in the back. I'm sure many of you have explored already. But there's some water, there's some drinks, there's some snacks, there's some cookies. There's also some freebies. And yeah, I just wanted to thank you guys so much for coming, and I hope you have a great time here at CAF. All right, thank you. I'll go ahead and move on to our moderator, Gary Veers.
All right. Well, welcome, everybody. We're glad that you could make it to today's event, and we're getting started now, and we have an exciting group of panelists to share about what's going on in AI and accounting right now in the professional world and the academic world with small businesses and the like. And so we have 4 panelists today. We have one that will be arriving very soon, but I'm going to introduce the panelists that we have to get started. We have Michael Hurst, a tax principal at Baker Tilly. We also have Naga Kethavath, founder of Deep Ledger, and Dr. Arindam Tripathi, a professor of accounting here at the Milgard School of Business. We will also be welcoming Karishma Menon as she arrives. And so without further ado, we want to get started in the discussion. I want to introduce to you our first panelist, Michael Hurst, a principal at Baker Tilly. Michael's practiced public accounting since 2011. He provides tax planning and compliance services to clients in the construction, real estate, and manufacturing industries. Prior to pursuing a career in accounting, Michael was a captain in the United States Army Rangers. So Michael, can you please tell us how you're utilizing AI in public accounting and how has it enhanced your efficiencies?
Thanks, Gary. Is this working all right? Okay. Well, thank you, everyone, for allowing me to join this panel and for being part of the Contemporary Accounting Forum. I remember when I was sitting in your seats, what seemed to be not too far ago. So I am an alumni. I was here at UW-T for my MBA, and then I went up to the Foster School for their Master in Tax program. I was at Moss Adams after that, and Moss Adams last June merged with Baker Tilly. So I was a partner with Moss Adams, and now I'm a principal with Baker Tilly. And so a little bit about Baker Tilly. We are after the merger right now, we are the 6th largest CPA firm in the country and continuing to grow. And we are pretty much, Moss Adams was all over the West Coast. Baker Tilly was in the Midwest and on the East Coast, and you put us together. We have pretty much a presence across the country. But AI, so that's what we're here to talk about today. And I will say it is an exciting time when it comes to artificial intelligence. I swear you can't go an hour without hearing about AI, reading about AI, or somehow interacting with AI. If you're keeping up with what's going on in the news, there is a spending arms race when it comes to the amount of capital that's being deployed into artificial intelligence. This has the market spooked. If you read in the Wall Street Journal today, there's a really interesting article. You're seeing different industries, their stocks are getting beat up. Software companies, even the transportation industry, anything that that the markets believe that will impact these companies' ability to generate revenues because of the integration of AI. Are taking a beating right now, and then you're seeing consumer, staples. Walmart is going up. Things that again, the market is trying to react to what is going to be the impact of artificial intelligence. So the only thing that's pretty clear is that AI is here, and it's here to stay. And the rate of change, the rate of change is happening so fast. So as this product and these capabilities continue to grow, it is, again, how fast it is iterating, how fast it is getting better is kind of mind-boggling. So you really have a couple different options, when it comes to this, different ways to look at it. There's a camp of people who, and I'm probably dating myself, I didn't think this was an old movie reference, but I guess it's becoming an old movie reference. But, I don't know who's seen Terminator 2, that one day, Skynet is going to become self-aware and we're going to, go to battle with the machines. So there's some people who think that's the future of AI, and that's where we're headed. You've got some folks who have the head in the sand type of look at this. Hey, AI is a fad. It's going to go, if I just close my eyes and keep my head down, this is going to go away. There are people who thought that about the computer when it came out. And then there's the kind of the pragmatic approach, which is approaching this with curiosity, with wonder, with an open mind, and the willingness to adapt and to learn what this is and to also understand what it's not, and being ready to evolve with that over time. So, just kind of setting the stage for our talk about artificial intelligence today. Baker Tilly is using AI, has been using AI. Nothing that's too earth-shattering with how we're incorporating it. Again, we've been trying to do anything we can that's going to utilize that capability to reduce manual and non-value-added tasks. I remember when I came to Baker Tilly or Moss Adams when I started, you would kind of dread working on a brand new client to the firm because you would get their trial balance that had all of these, hundreds or thousands of accounts, and you had to sit there one by one and group them and figure out, is this an asset, liability, like literally type it in, and then when you're done with it, it wouldn't balance everything, like hours and hours and hours spent wasted. Now we have AI programs that look at a client's trial balance, predict what these accounts should be. What used to take a day and a half happens in less than 30 seconds now. And again, doing something that has again no value. The client sees no value in you sitting there grouping their chart of accounts. So again, things like that. Populating tax forms, anything that has a reducing manual entries, data errors. Again, we've been using that. We continue to use that. We continue to look for better ways to evolve in the utilization of AI to do that. I'm a tax principal, so I spend a lot of my time consulting and strategizing about tax efficiencies, tax optimizations, and I joke a little bit. There's certain things that are black and white, and those are the easy things. That's not where clients find value. That's where you're not going to make your money in the black or the white. That's a commodity of just trying to figure out, okay, how do I classify something that's already done? I spend most of my time working in the gray because that's where, again, you can build arguments, create positions, find strategies, what's the best thing that's going to work for your specific client. So I do a lot of tax research and utilizing our AI functions with, interpreting court cases, treasury regulations, all this type of stuff. Again, it's pretty slick products that are very helpful into formulating opinions and coming up with solutions. We had our own internal Moss GPT, because again, what the data that we're working with is sensitive, so it's not. I'm not going to go out to Chat GPT and put all my clients' information into there and be looking for a lawsuit. So again, we have closed systems that utilize those. Again, we can utilize our clients' data again because it's secure. It's within our own programs. So again, lots of use of AI. Again, then there's the typical, some people use AI to draft their emails and to create client letters and things like that. Really helpful use of time. Baker Tilly also has our own distinct AI service offerings where we consult with clients to help them to either develop those equivalents of Moss GPTs for their internal systems so they can have their own internal products to use, or consulting with them on their AI strategy, because again, right now AI, everyone's trying to learn, and you have random AI products, but is it a unique part of their solution? So again, not only are we utilizing AI, we are assisting clients with the adoption and adaptation of their own AI strategies. But the thing that it's really important to me is candidly a little bit of the. I started in the Terminator 2 phase. Okay, we're going to go to battle with Skynet here, and I've started to really, once I learned more about this, again, comfortable utilizing it and seeing the value that it provides. But it is an enhancement. It is not a replacement. We still need good accountants. We still need good tax folks. We still need people who can consult with our clients. It's here, but the skill set is changing. Again, you need to be able to utilize and understand what AI is and what it isn't. And while that's important, critical thinking is still more important. Again, this capability continues to evolve. It will continue to change, but for where it is right now and the way we're utilizing it, again, it's a tool, but it is not something to be a crutch to be relied upon. I'm still looking for people who can solve our clients' problems, and can have that critical thinking component, that they're using AI as a support tool. So again, critical thinking is more important, understanding how to prompt AI, understanding how to interpret AI, the results it is, but also how to verify its results. I mean, again, you hear the stories that you've all heard about these just false results, and you have to be able to verify that. I mean, at the end of the day, we're signing tax positions, we're signing audit reports, and we are the ones who are taking accountability for that. So we need to be able to verify the results that it's providing and understanding where it may be correct and where it may not be. And the thing I'll kind of leave on here before I pass it off to my other panelists is that my opinion in this industry, interpersonal skills are trading at a premium. So where technology will continue to enhance, will continue to grow, but your ability, while these tools change and evolve, again, our firm can train you on those. But what we're looking for are people who can have relationships with our clients, who have communication skills, who have problem-solving skills. If you want to, again, my opinion, if you want to continue to make yourself attractive, relevant, and something that, in my opinion, won't go away, is your ability to effectively communicate with the team, to ability to effectively communicate with the client base that you're going to serve, and to communicate with the market. And those are things yet that I don't see being replaced by artificial intelligence. So leaning into those skills is how you're going to continue to make yourself marketable, relevant, kind of no matter where technology goes from here. But so I don't know if that, hopefully that answers your question, Gary, but.
It does. Thank you, Michael. We're having some issues here. All right. Okay. Thank you, Michael. We appreciate that. Great insight. Next, I'd like to introduce our next panelist, Karishma Menon, the lead go-to-market and operations at Decisionly. Karishma is a London Business School alumna with a Master of Science in Accounting from right here at UW Tacoma. She currently leads go-to-market and operations at Decisionly, a fintech startup built by the founders of ChargeHound, which was acquired by PayPal, leveraging AI to automate end-to-end card dispute processes for leading banks and fintechs across the U.S. and Canada. With experience spanning audit, risk advisory, fintech, and venture capital across India, the UK, Africa, and the US, Karishma brings a global perspective to the intersection of AI and finance. She's also guest lectured here at UW-Tacoma on AI and accounting, focusing on leadership and communication in an AI-first era. Karishma, welcome. And please discuss the evolution of AI in the financial services for us, please. Yeah, you should just, this one's not working either.
I'll try my best. Also recovering from a cough, so I can't really be louder. My apologies for being late, first of all. Badly timed Friday. I'll try and offer, and thank you, Professor, for the introduction and for having me here. I'll try and offer my perspective on two fronts. The first is, as part of the program at UW last year, I conducted a research study on AI and accounting, and sort of try and give you a perspective of what I heard as part of that research paper. And the second is, as Professor Beers mentioned, I lead go-to-market and operations at a startup called Decisionly, where we're building and selling AI products to financial services buyers. And so I'll try and give you the market perspective and how that's evolving, and try and paint a picture for you. I will talk a little bit at length, but the bottom line really is that in the last 12 to 15 months, I've seen an evolution from skepticism to curiosity to excitement to now adoption, right? And the thinking has gone from like, I don't understand this technology and I don't want to know more about it, to, oh my God, I need to understand this. And there is a cost-saving element here, to this can really expand our products and services, and I need to get on board. So that's a massive evolution that's happened very, very quickly. And I'd argue it's the fastest any technology has sort of been adopted and embraced. So really, I am an optimist when it comes to AI, and that's why I do the job I do. And I think it's going to become ubiquitous much faster than we realize, and it's going to become, like today we don't question whether you use Excel or not. Clients don't care. It's just obvious that you use it. I think you're going to see stuff like that happen sooner than later. Clients don't care whether their documents are being uploaded onto a drive. They care that the drive is secure, but nobody's expecting you to come with a CD and a pen drive anymore, and those changes have happened. I think you'll see similar stuff like that with AI, but faster. Having said that, I'll just try and talk a little bit to the specifics of both the aspects I mentioned. So on the research paper, spoke to professionals across practices, across firm sizes, and across seniority. Interestingly, I felt like the mid and junior level professionals were a combination of the most excited and the most fearful, because they'd used this technology sort of in their personal day-to-day lives and really understood the power of it. And that brought excitement, but also a little bit of fear in terms of like, what is this going to do in terms of my relevance and what I have to offer. But on the flip side, manager, senior manager, partner level folks that I spoke to were extremely excited and hopeful. And they were talking about how do we use the best talent and reprioritize them to high value work, which means we all want to do more advisory business. How do I use my best people to do advisory work, and some of the other work that's our bread and butter and more important, but not necessarily higher margin, how do I use AI and automation for that? So I think, like was mentioned earlier, it's not being treated as a replacement. It's being treated as a tool of, we can grow faster, we can scale faster. And I think the people who think like that will use the technology to grow faster and the gap between the people who adopt and don't adopt will just widen over time. And I think shifting a little bit to decisionally and what we see. So like was mentioned earlier, we build AI products for financial services buyers. So that's banks, credit card companies across the US and Canada. And very similar thinking on that front as well. When we were kind of pitching our product about a year ago, there was a lot of skepticism. Why do I need to displace the status quo? Things are running, let them run. But the folks who were thinking about scale, who were thinking about unlocking new markets, they needed a more efficient solution. So now they're the ones coming to us and trying to use this product, asking us to build additional AI products on top of that to just unlock what they can do. And again, the story is the same there. Nobody's talking about, I want to get rid of my people. It's about my people should not be doing this work. They should be doing more high-value work. They are, we want to bring the smartest people and equip them to do more. And that's really the lens. That's something I'm seeing across the board, and happy to talk more on that front. So really that's the perspective I have, that I think this, if you understand the technology, understand your own skills and abilities, and figure where that sweet spot is and what AI can do and what your superpower is and how you can bring that together, there's a lot you can achieve using this.
All right. Thank you for that, Karishma. We appreciate that insight into the area. And next, we're going to move forward with our next panelist. Naga Kethavath is the founder of Deep Ledger. Naga is a chartered accountant and AI innovator on a mission to make accounting accessible to everyone. After honing his skills in audit and insurance at Deloitte and specializing in nonprofit and casino accounting at SJT Group, Naga turned his focus to the intersection of finance and technology. He's currently building Deep Ledger, an AI platform that turns QuickBooks management into a conversational experience. Naga is also an alumni of our Masters of Science of Accounting program. Naga, welcome. We appreciate you being here. And I'd like to ask you, how can small business owners use AI to overcome these barriers in accounting?
Yep. Thank you, Professor Gary, and having me here. And so coming to the AI, I have been using this AI technology for past 3 years. I am using from 2022 when ChatGPT 2 arrived into the market, and I was so much fascinated by the technology, and I use every day more than 2 hours or for every task I use AI. I kind of like stop thinking or just tell my chatbot to do everything for me. And in today I want to talk about AI agents and how we can make accounting accessible to everyone, smaller businesses, individual business owners, proprietary businesses, and then how we can protect our data in the AI era, how we can minimize the cost of data leakage. And I have been like, I have like 7 years of work experience. I do a lot of extensive bookkeeping tasks for all my clients. I think over the past 7 years, I recorded more than 10,000 transactions for all my clients. Each year you can count for 1,000 transactions, and yeah. So while performing all these tasks, I identify there is a clear use case. Like all these small businesses, they come to the CPA firm, CA firms, and they just give all their data, invoices, bills, bank statements, and ask us to do their accounting, do the data entry into the systems. And then all these QuickBooks and existing applications are very much intimidating. You need to have training on the software to record these transactions. That is where like they come to the qualified accountants to record all your transactions, and we do record them, but it is very much time consuming, and to be honest, it's kind of sometimes it feel like boring task. So that is where like I kind of like I built more than 30 prototypes. I'm an accountant, and I'm learning the coding aspect, database design, and business logic design for past 1 year, and I built more than 30 prototypes, and now I have a product where you can connect with the QuickBooks and record your transaction based on the natural language simple prompts. For example, record an invoice to ABC company for web services and send this invoice to the client. And you can tell like, yeah, and you can ask the chatbot to record your bills or list the outstanding invoices, follow up with my vendors, follow up with my customers to get the money back. And yeah, so in this way, my goal is to make the accounting accessible, where smaller businesses, they can record all their transactions on real time with the small simple messages. Yep. And also, if you look into the accounting industry, the number of students who are enrolling into the accounting are decreasing each year, and there is a huge shortage of accountants. Using AI, like non-accountants can do the accounting, and we can take up more higher level task of financial review and more expertise and decisions on the financial systems. And also, I want to talk about the problems the existing accounting applications have. They are too much navigational, too many menus, and you need to have training on the systems. But after AI coming into the mainstream, attention span of the users are decreasing. We want everything instant. Now if you look at the Google or ChatGPT, you just tell the ChatGPT, I want to know about this particular thing. It will give you a summarized answers. Now we no longer visit the website, we no longer click the links, go to the website, read it. We want everything instantly. There is no user interface to the current applications. In the same way, I built something like without any navigation, without any menu. You can talk with your systems, QuickBooks, Xero software or NetSuite, anything. Now, like, I have like few customers who are like very small early testers of the application. They no longer write their manual journal entries. They just tell the chatbot to record the transactions. And some of you might be thinking, is Deep Ledger competitor to me as an accountant? Will it going to replace me an accountant? The answer, I don't know. Michael rightly said, like, all the software companies' tools, you can see like many big software company, their stocks are, the value of their stock is reducing because AI is automating end-to-end across industries. If we do not learn this technology or adapt the technology, we may be out of job. You might be already reading the articles, news that software engineers are already losing their job. So we have to understand the technology and learn it and integrate into our workflows and perform all our tasks. And coming to the AI agents, I have agent for pretty much for 5 to 6 agents I use. I have an agent who specifically write all the LinkedIn posts, reply to all my posts and comments. And I have an AI agent which will track all my task list, completion list, and the status of the pending items. And as soon as I get an email from my boss, it will directly draft and send it to boss. This is the status of this work, and we are pending with this information. So my boss will be thinking that, Naga, you are working always. You are replying in 10 seconds. And I have an agent who can go through all my download folders or my file system, which will organize all the client data into a concise folder, renaming the file names and everything like AI. Like I just tell it, it does for me. So we should always use AI agent for a specific task where you find like this is so much time consuming. Now you can find AI agent for every task you want to do. There are a lot of AI agents, and yeah, and all my code, the code for my software is all AI written, rewritten, optimized by the AI. Now I want to talk about the data security in the AI era, how we can protect our data. So be careful with what you are sharing with all these artificial intelligence tools, AI tools, because all the data you are sharing could be stored, trained, or can be exposed in a data breach, and all this will going to cost you. Never share the tax IDs, client informations, and financial data with the client names into the systems, because all these tools, they need, all the AI providers, they need the real-time user data, which is more authentic data to train their systems and make it better. Once our data goes into these systems, after 1 or 2 years, the system which is trained on your data come into the mainstream, and when someone asks like, what is the email ID of Naga? It will directly tell, this is the email ID of Naga, this is the phone number of Naga, this is the address of Naga. Oh my God. This is, yeah, all our data is all with these AI providers. We should be very careful with what we are sharing with these tools. And as an accountants and auditors, we always have obligation, or the client's obligations, like we should be very careful with that. And also, like, there are a lot of AI tool offerings in the market. There are some consumer tools and enterprise level tools. So when you are using the consumer level tools like the ChatGPT and Claude AI or anything, please make sure like to read the policy of the AI provider. What is the data they are going to retain, whether they are going to train the models on your data. Make sure you turn off the settings, and preferably if you are using the AI for your business, try to get an enterprise plan, because these companies have stronger policies making sure enterprise data is not used for the AI training. And make sure like if you are having any businesses or something, make sure like you have a company level AI policy. Now it is AI policy for every company. It is becoming mandatory. So try to develop a policy. Make sure like all your employees are compliant with the policy. Do not make all your employees to use every other tool. Maintain a list of organization approved AI tools which can all your employees use, and make sure all the companies you are using these AI tools are SOC 2 compliant. And yes, and one more thing. If you might have read the news like Deloitte getting lawsuits for incorrect all these reports in Australia and in other parts of the country. So yeah, when you do not review the AI generated content and you provide the services or just copy paste the information and provide to the client, this is going to happen. So to protect and to minimize the professional obligations and professional liability on using these AI tools to provide services, make sure we review the content generated by the AI, and making sure cross-verify the recommendations with the authoritative sources, FASB guidance, or any all these accounting standards. So in that way, you can minimize your professional obligations and maintain the, yeah. And at the end of the day, we are responsible for what we are providing all these services. So make sure we follow all the rules and everything. Thank you so much, and yeah, this is the end of my.
All right, thank you, Naga, for that. We appreciate that information. And we'll move on with our fourth panelist, Dr. Arindam Tripathi, a professor of accounting here at the Milgard School of Business, where he's a founding faculty member of the STEM-designated Master of Science in Accounting program here, the Accounting Hub, and the SAP Lab. He also serves as faculty lead for accounting analytics and SAP, advancing experiential technology-enabled learning across undergraduate and graduate programs. Welcome, Arindam. We're glad to have you here. Can you please outline for us how the Milgard School of Business is preparing students for AI use in today's quickly evolving business environment?
Thank you, Gary, and thank you, folks, for having me here. And I'm actually very proud. Everyone over here has been in my class some point, and I'm now learning from them. So it's a very proud moment. And I'm actually glad Naga decided to come himself and not send his bot agent. So we could, so we could have his presence and learn from him directly. So yeah, well, great insights, and I've worked with all of them. I've worked very closely with Karishma on a research paper, learned a lot from Naga, but what are we doing in the Milgard School? Well, I think Michael touched upon the most important thing when he spoke about that we still need people to know the core. You are hired, and the market values you for being an accountant first. So we make sure that we make the best accountants in the world, the ones which are going to be leaders today and tomorrow and going forward. So that's our core value. We do, in our undergraduate program, we have one of the most rigorous programs. We make sure you know all about core in accounting, your accounting skill sets. You learn a lot. We do have a fair amount of technology, basic ones, and learnings in our undergraduate level. But when we move on to the graduate classes, I was actually looking back and thinking about what are the classes which uses technology, and what are the classes which are using AI or teaching AI-related stuff, and moving forward into autumn 26, which are the classes which are going to be having them. It was a very simple answer, all of the classes. And interestingly, some of the classes are specifically technology related. For example, the analytics classes, which are going to be, which anyway have technology, analytics, softwares, and AI involved. But you know, the other classes like financial statement analysis, taxation, audits, we have a lot of my colleagues here right now, and they all use these techniques to teach our students not only the latest in terms of the softwares, in terms of the technology, but also incorporating AI. And you know, many of my colleagues, they talk about how, including myself, we let our students use AI in certain assignments because they got to get familiar with it. They got to make sure that they are in touch with the latest technology, latest that's happening in the world. But what's more important, how do we look at it? So I always have this philosophy that you got to look into your own SWOT analysis. And where do you put AI in your SWOT analysis? And it's a threat, and it's your weakness until you make it and look at it as your opportunity and make it your strength. So it's important that when you look at technology, and specifically when you look at AI today, you got to be very familiar with it. You got to be able to use it to make yourself efficiently and use it efficiently. In all our classes, and there are so many different softwares we use, and I can name some of them because some of them we are still working with the providers to use them in the autumn 26 quarter onwards, but softwares like Power BI, Tableau, SAP, all of them have AI enabled now, and we all use that in our classes now or going forward. Many of our colleagues, specifically auditing, forensic, even management accounting, financial statement analysis to predict, the earnings, predict cash flows. We are using all those predictive analysis using AI. We are using AI analysis and then reviewing them in terms of how we can analyze our financials and other stuff. But most important, while our philosophy core is that you are a good accountant, but we want you to be the best. We want you to be leaders in everything. We want you to be retooling on an ongoing basis, upscaling yourself, upskilling. You have all those skill sets that is required by the market and going ahead of the market. Most importantly, which is the coolest thing, is in fact, we want to make sure you know that AI is not a threat. It's something which is quite familiar, quite easy to use, and you should use it to your advantage. In fact, while we do that, we keep an eye on the ethical part of it, because a lot of the AIs have their own biases in there and which you need to be aware. And something which both, in fact, all three panelists touched upon, and it's important to have human in the loop. What I mean by that is when you do all these use of AI in different aspects of your work, as you learn it, an important aspect is to make sure that you review it. You want the human involved in the entire process. You want to make sure, as was the example of Deloitte in Australia, it was one case that all of us know about, all of us learned about. We want to make sure that while you use it to the best, we also want to make sure what output we give is ultimately comes from us. So we want to make sure we have the quality assurance, the internal control about it, the evaluation of the correctness of what we are doing. Now, one of the coolest thing is in the last autumn, we have a communication and leadership class. Guess what? That's where one of the classes we used AI the most. We talked about AI, how AI is used by accountants, what can we do with AI, and that's where we introduced what Naga talked about, coding by AI, where our students, and we had 10 groups in all, each group, they developed a product by themselves in just 3 weeks using AI coding. They use AI to develop the product. And I think rather than talk about it a lot, I have a very special student, Asha, who's going to help us. One of the projects she did, she was one of the person who did the projects and has a very cool product, and she's agreed to demonstrate that to us today to know what else we do in the classroom. So Asha, please, she'll be graduating in March, but she has agreed to show us what they did in the classroom.
All right, thank you, Arindam. We'll welcome up Asha Kakarla. Thank you for joining us, Asha.
Yeah, today we are here to discuss about one of the very innovative products that we have developed during our AI course in accounting. So our team has come up with an idea to build FinSight 360, which can help finance professionals to develop most of their reports automatically without have to spending a lot of time in working on it, right? Let's go through the problem statements that we are trying to solve using FinSight 360. First and foremost is the manual reporting and consolidation. In most of the startup world, or most of the small and medium enterprises today spend a lot of time juggling between Excel sheets to prepare their reportings, right? Reportings, I mean, is the board decks or the management reports or periodic performance reports of the company that they have to present it to the board and the investors, right? Here with the data that they prepare and share it is also very least interactive data. So what do I mean by least interactive? In most of these companies, management see information only what finance want to show them, right? If they want to see something else, or if I would like to see maybe comparison between top performing and least performing products, I don't have it because my finance will always feed me with top performing or whichever is a high contribution margin product or whatsoever, right? So third problem that we have dealt with is the complexity in data compilation. In startups today, they use tons of the products internally, right? They might have Gensker or very recent products to track the revenue. They might use a HRMS for payroll and different products for different usages, right? Compiling all of that data for reporting is extremely complex today. And the fourth point is about the accrual and cash. Of course, most of the finance people and the founders also know the difference between accrual and cash. But most of the finance people today present their numbers in the accrual concept. But is the founder also looking at the same information? I would say sometimes no, because cash becomes extremely important for founders because ultimately survival and runway matters to them, right? But is finance team prepared today to present whatever version of data that the founders want to see? I might say no. So most of the financial information is often delayed, outdated, and incomplete. Why do I have to say this? Is because by the time you close your books, it's almost 15th of the next month. You're already finished 15 days of the next month, right? For you to plan, you have to wait another 15 days to plan and implement your action items. So you're losing time in terms of waiting for the data and to take effective decisions. So reduced focus on forecasting. I'm sure a lot of professionals today spend a lot of time on budgeting. Are we spending equal amount of time on forecasting as well? I might say no. And the scenario planning and what-if analysis. Interestingly, a lot of times I myself have spent at least 30 seconds to 1 minute opening the scenario planning sheets. Because there are several sheets and a lot of information in it. Just with one click, I never happen to open an Excel sheet. So we are here to solve these problems. Let's look at the key features that we thought of in the product. First and foremost is the consolidated reports for the group entities. So when I say about group entity, imagine a company with US parent and having subsidiaries across many countries like India, Middle East, Australia, and several other countries. When you have to prepare your consolidated reports, you technically have to convert the currency into USD and then prepare your reports into a consolidated reports. So we are helping you here to automatically convert them and then combine the data and generate automatic reports for you, for your, be it standalone or group reportings. So we also have the AI-powered budgeting and forecasting. Since we already have your historical data with us, we will help you generate budgets and forecasts in a real-time basis. We've also got it covered with respect to scenario planning and what-if modelings. So the moment the founder tells us about what's going on in his mind, right? Maybe about the next fundraise, okay, how much fund am I going to raise? Or, my GTM, which country should I invest in? Everything that is going in his mind, he can see the results of it using our software. So we also have the interactive FP&A dashboards. Now, founders can happily see what they want to see. And we also have automated MIS and executive reportings. If you've noticed in my first slide, we had a caption as stop, think. So this is the place where we would like finance professionals to stop spending their time on generating the reports. Instead, think about it and be the thought partners for the founders to run the show. So what are the outcomes of these features? First, it reduces FP&A cycle time. And it goes without saying, it saves a lot of headcount and manual efforts. And it improves decision-making speed because all the data is at a click of button for you. And it reduces manual errors and increases accuracy. We spoke enough about it. Let me just quickly walk you through what we have built here. So like Professor mentioned, we spent roughly 3 weeks on building this. We wanted to keep it as simple as possible. Like Naga mentioned, all the softwares today needs extreme level of training and a lot of information about, okay, where do I get this data from? Where should I click to get there? And stuff like that, right? So to avoid that, we've kept it as simple as possible. I'm sorry, I couldn't present this. Okay. Can you help me present this? Yeah, this is the landing page. And like I said, we wanted to keep it as simple as possible. Not as simple that we don't want to show what we're doing. So here we are showing what we are doing using this product. To get your data, you just have to click on Upload Data. So at the initial stage, we only support CSV and Excel formats. We are working, maybe as a further steps, we would work on API integrations with your internal softwares or accounting softwares, whatever you name it. So you just have to upload your file and click on Load Sample Data. You will have a dashboard that's automatically generated. First, we have all key performance metrics for the period. Now we have taken a sample data for February 24. So you've gotten your total revenue, gross profit, net profit, profit margin, all the metrics. This ribbon is extremely customizable. Whatever basis the industry that we are in, we can always customize it. And we have comparative information here, like monthly revenue trends, revenue budget versus actuals, month-on-month growth of the revenue. We have comparisons, top 10 customers list, and we have inventory turnovers if your inventory is your primary concern. So if you noticed one thing, we also have insights, AI-generated insights on what exactly the graph is trying to tell you, right? I've seen a few situations where we provide them with tons of graphs and informations. Most of the times, founders are not aware of, okay, what are you trying to tell me? I mean, this graph looks so colorful, but what exactly does it mean? What is that trying to communicate with me? So we have gotten that covered. The AI will tell you what exactly the graph means, right? We also have financial ratios here. A lot of times I've noticed, very conveniently, a lot of startups will try to deviate or prepare these ratios as per their convenience. So we have also included the formulation of, how exactly we arrived at defining each of these ratios or metrics that we are using here. So we have included quite a few as a sample here that is important for a startup or a small and medium firm to track on a regular basis. We also have profitability ratios, and of course, the AI insights summary about it. And here, key insights. This tells you the overall performance for the month that the company has, how well the company has performed. And again, like I mentioned, we got you covered on the forecast as well. You don't have to do anything because we already have your historical data with us. Just give a command on what exactly are you expecting for next forecast to look like. Say, if your revenue growth, you're expecting it to be 5%, and your expense is growing by 2%, just click on Generate Forecast. Here we go. We have your forecast generated for next 3 months. You can increase the period as you want. And we also have insights about what forecast is telling about your business and how your business is going to look like with expected growth in the revenue and expenses. We also have a reports section. These are executive reports. You can directly exclude or download these reports and keep it as part of your board deck, or you can directly share it with investors or board or your management, whosoever you want to share it with. This again has the necessary information along with the commentary about what exactly the information is trying to tell you. Thank you so much for giving us such projects. We always thought having an idea, we've seen, right, when we speak to a lot of our peer group, we have tons of ideas that got buried because we don't know about how to get started, right? Tech is always like something very superior to us. That's what accountants feel. So thank you so much for giving this opportunity to explore and make us understand this is also doable. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Asha, for that. That's wonderful. We appreciate your presentation, and we know that you need to leave after intermission, so I will go slightly off script. If there would be one or two questions from our in-person attendees for Asha before we take our break, we could field that.
Asha, you want to tell our audience today that you didn't do any coding for this whole product?
Oh yeah, it's a zero-code product, I would say. It's just with few commands and tweaks, and maybe just giving her a few insights about what I want to see. It automatically gets me what I wanted. It's a zero-code product, I would say.
And I would have a question on forecasting. You said we could put it out as far as we want. Do you have, can you change those parameters each quarter? Like if I put in 5% revenue growth, 2% expense, then I could do that quarterly, and then after that quarter change the parameters moving forward?
Yes.
That capability, yes?
Yeah, it's everything customizable, right from the period to whatever the expectations, revenue growth, whatever you're giving, it's all doable. We also have the scenario planning for you.
Yeah, you want to say that again? They couldn't hear it.
Yeah, so you can always customize what you want to see. For example, we also got a scenario planning for you. We also have the comparative view of scenarios. You can always customize the period that you want to see. Maybe you want to see monthly, quarterly, annually. We have every option.
What about security?
Oh, yeah. Maybe as a further enhancement to the product, we haven't thought about it yet, but further enhancements, we would definitely consider that. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, let's have another hand for Asha and for our panelists. All right, so at this point, we're going to go ahead and take an intermission, and then we will have available, we want to do the second half will be a Q&A session with the panelists, but we would ask that you would write your questions on a piece of paper. We've made that available, paper and pens there, and if you could do that, and then you could flag down one of our ASA volunteers or something and get it to them, and they'll bring them up to us here. So feel free to take an intermission. We will come back promptly at 3:15 and carry on with the Q&A session. Thank you. can scoot that one down, dude. If it doesn't work, I'll grab you this mic. They did change them all out. Yeah, and when anyone brings them up, just have them come from this side once we're going, so they don't walk in front of you.
Yeah.
I told everyone if they bring them up during the event, just come on this side, so they're not walking in front of you.
Sounds good. All right.
Who we missing? Naga? We gotta get Naga. All right, guys, we're gonna get started. All right, thank you all. We're going to end the intermission now and get back to our regularly scheduled programming. Please finish up your conversations and feel free to continue to shoot questions at me and we'll handle the ones we can from you. So welcome back. As we go into our second half here, we're going to have a panel discussion based on Q&A from you guys. So we will get started here. And I did have an interesting question that I'm not sure whether one of you could answer, but somebody has asked, how is AI being used in the recruiting process? How should it be used by job seekers? Does anyone want to try that? It's a little out of the... Yeah.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best here. You know, people are using AI for just about everything. But again, just to be candid, a little bit of the, I don't want to say the contrarian, but it's a competitive market. So like with anything, if you decide to just overly rely on AI, it's not too hard to spot. So, you know, what I tell anybody, just, I don't know if this exactly answers the question, but a little bit of advice in the recruiting process is, you know, by the time I'm interviewing you, you know, you've met the basic requirements for GPA and someone's, you know, looked at your resume and all those good things, but I want to hear your story. AI is not going to tell your story. AI is not going to make you authentic. And so what I'm looking for, again, to what I said earlier, are people who can effectively communicate, who have the potential to build relationships with clients, with the market, working with our team. So, you know, if you're going to have AI write your resume, you know, so be it. You know, use it as just like anything. Use it as a start. Use it as a tool. But it's becoming more and more of a crowded market for competition and for talent. So doing anything you can to stand out and being the authentic you, because at the end of the day, that's what I want to hire. So kind of a rambling answer there, but again, I would tell you that I know it is being utilized. You know, again, I believe our HR team, there's programs, again, that are kind of, I want to say, sifting through, you know, helping automate that initial process of making sure we've got the basic levels, the basic competencies. Again, reducing manual processes. So instead of a recruiter sitting here and reading hundreds and hundreds of resumes, there's programs that will help kind of filter down to what they think is going to be the most competitive applicants to at least to meet those basic requirements. But But then after that, you're back to a human. And so being able to stand out from there and telling your story is important.
And I want to add on, so all the big corporate companies, they use the AI tools to screen all your resumes. So if you want to pass your resume from AI screening to the manual HR, there is if you do not meet the specific criteria, your resume will be thrown away. So I have a hack for this. Let's say a recruiter is just posting a job posting with 5 years of experience and a master's of degree and a specific software technical skills and some work location or something. And when you apply to these, make sure before applying, are you hitting all these targets? Make a 5 checklist. Upload your resume to ChatGPT. Ask ChatGPT, this is the description, job description. Am I passing through all these steps? Is my experience checklist is done? Then the masters and then the technological aspects or something. If any point you are not meeting, then try to customize your resume. We want to get into a call from the HR. So try to add the missing points so that it will pass the eligibility criteria and go to the human recruiter and you get a call. Yeah, that is what I suggest.
So let me add here and clarify on Naga's point. He's not asking you to put something which you don't have. He's telling you to customize what you have. So if you have 4 years experience and they require 5 years, I think the advice is try again after a year. He's not telling you to make it 5 year and apply. That's never a good strategy. That's absolutely something you shouldn't be doing. But having said that, yes, it's a good thing to ask AI tools whether you meet the criteria. It's a good thing to have the start where you can get a formatted thing from AI, but then you got to look at it again. Make sure human in the loop is always there. So you review that, do your own customization, make sure factually everything is very accurate. There's absolutely no compromise on that when it comes to applications.
I would agree with that too. I think the absolute worst thing you could do on a resume or an application is to be unethical and say something that's not truth or stretch the truth, right? This is an ethical industry that we deal with, and if you only have 4 years and not 5, then look for a job that's requesting 4 years experience, right? Because we all know, as I've been on hiring panels and all this stuff as well. We're looking for that honesty, the ethics, that we can count on you to get done what needs to be done, and that you will represent that company or that business well to the best of your ability. So that starts with that resume process. Now, jokingly, I can say I still have a file of, I used to have 20 different resumes when I was looking for work because I had to tailor them for those word things. Like if I said I had Excel skills, but they were asking for Microsoft Suite, this kind of stuff, well, then I would tailor it to, yes, I know Microsoft Suite. My normal, resume says Excel, but what they're looking for is Microsoft, this wording. So I would tailor those words if they were true, which I'm sure AI can do for us in a second now. But yes, that's the approach, and however you can use that. Good.
One thing I would add, though, is we have a position open now for which we have a take-home assignment. So completely agree, use what you can to optimize your resume in the confines of ethics and honesty. But in the take-home assignment, we're very easily able to filter what is a completely AI-generated response versus not. And the issue isn't use AI or don't. Absolutely use AI, but if AI is doing 100% of the work, it's all average. And we don't want average as somebody we hire. So if there is specifically something like a take-home assignment, or if you're preparing some questions that you want to respond to in an interview, put your original thought and insight there, and you can then use AI to craft it and polish it and jazz it up. But if the original thought is going to be from AI, then that's at best an average thought at this point. That may change as the technology evolves, but I think that's something to think about at this point.
Good, thank you, Krishma. Along those lines, then, should we be disclosing that? Because we have a question about, should clients be informed when AI is being used for tax or audit purposes, and what ethical concerns arise when using AI in accounting, tax, auditing work, right? So should we be disclosing that, first of all, to our clients and potential employers if we use this, right? Feelings, any of you want to talk on that?
I can maybe talk about the employer side. So when I was also looking for a job, as well as now when we're looking for people, I think there are specifics mentioned that we're okay with the use of AI, or we're not okay with the use of AI in your work product, or we're okay with it as long as you disclose it. I think just read what the requirements are. At this point, I can guarantee everybody's using some sort of an AI resume filter. And they may still ask you not to use AI for your resume. They're using it at their end, but they're asking you not to use it. But that's the confines within which you're working. So if it says don't, just don't. It's not worth it to do something that's unethical or dishonest. And I think that's also a point for you to check. Maybe if you believe in AI and you really want to use it, but you're applying to a firm that doesn't believe in it, maybe that's a mismatch as well.
Thank you. Anyone else want to chime in on the ethical side of AI use?
Well, a couple thoughts when it comes to disclosure with clients. Everyone knows you're using AI. AI is out there. So what's important, we tout the fact that we're using AI because we want to be bringing the best skills and the best product to our client, and AI is part of that. Now, we absolutely 100% assume responsibility for all work product, for the answers that come out of that. They're, again, in our world, these are signed off by human beings because, we ultimately bear the risk, our firm does, for the product that we put out there. Again, it's just, when I've now been around long enough to have some perspective of different technologies. And, when I came to the firm, you had a stack of paper that you would sit there and go through and type all this stuff in. And then all of a sudden it came around, one of the first products was something called AutoFlow, where you could take a government form and zip it through the machine, and all of a sudden it populated the data. Wow, that was magic back in the day. That was mind-blowing. That's so, and so, our clients didn't care whether we're sitting there typing it all in or we're using this program that's going to get there, as long as what we're getting them is right. So again, if you're using it responsibly and you're taking ownership of the product that it produces and ensuring its accuracy and doing everything you need to, then our clients all know that we use it. I don't think it's a big secret. So.
All right, thank you, Michael. We have one here that I really enjoyed from one of our ASA board members that said, what are some of the biggest risks or limitations of AI in accounting that people don't talk about enough? And how should early career accountants approach them? Any of you panelists that have input on that, what are we not talking about enough?
I think one that we talk about often at work is about the bias in AI. So AI is trained largely on data that's publicly available. Data that's publicly available has certain biases in terms of, let's just say it, race, gender, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so now when you're using these large language models that are trained on publicly available data, largely they come with those inherent biases. So now, are we using technology and creating more use cases to then expand these biases? Or what is our responsibility and what's our perspective on that? And then how do we adopt the product that we're creating to not have some of those biases? And so this is one that comes up often, and the way we're doing it is sort of, we scrape any personally identifiable information. So if we're working on, let's say, a specific case, you'll have like a case ID or something like that, but no name, ideally no address, because you can kind of get a sense of the person from their zip code and so on. Because you don't have the name, you can't identify the race, you can't identify the gender, so that's one area that we're spending a lot of time on right now, pretty actively.
Yep.
You want to go? So I think that's something I was talking about earlier on, that all AI products have some level of bias in them, inherent. And I want to touch upon what do new accountants, folks like you who are going to get into the workforce, into the profession, what is it that you have to be aware of? Obviously, be very aware that there is a bias inherent to the AIs that we use, no matter what. But more importantly, it's important to understand that whatever work you do, ownership you have to take of it. So when you're planning to use AI and put an outcome of that out there, you need to know it has your stamp on it. So you need to be able to take the ownership and the responsibility related to that. Therefore, it's very important that in terms of risk, you evaluate from a point of view of quality assurance whatever work you want to put out there as yours when you take AI as an assistant. Remember, you are using it as an assistant, as a product to help you work, not to replace your work. And that's a very important thing to keep in mind.
And one thing, the AI sometimes, if you give some financial data and ask it to reason through it and give you summarized inputs, sometimes it gives you output which is incorrect, but it structures the output in a way that you think it is a correct answer or the correct logical explanation of the financial transactions, but which is incorrect. So, and sometimes it will give up with the tax codes or accounting standard numbers or subsections which are incorrect, imaginary. So we have to be very careful with that one. And one more thing, like the only risk with the AI I see is when you input this data can be used to train the models. How to avoid this thing? Let's say you have a financial statements with a client name, a trial balance, or a profit and loss account. Take out the client name. Don't mention the client name. Just give the financial data. So the AI don't know which client data this is. So in that way, you can hack the system and get what you want, but you are essentially not giving the personal details of the client data. Yeah.
All right, thank you all for that. And for the audience, you can write follow-up questions and stuff to these. If you have them, please write that down and send it up. We can still send questions up during this session. If something's spoken about and you have a follow-up or something on that, please feel free to do that, all right? We get many questions, and I think, Michael, you covered this earlier, about, all the accounting students that are currently seeking degrees have a certain amount of fear that their job will be taken by AI before they graduate. Right, I've even dealt with this with my grandson on a personal perspective, and what he wants to study outside of accounting, he feels by the time he got a 3 or 4 year degree, this would be fully automated. And so, we're looking at that, but potentially, we have all kinds of questions about, have you seen this affect your firm with the number of people? So maybe we can, do a general discussion on, have you personally seen this? I'm not sure with the baby boomer environment with so many people retiring, then jobs opening up, that we're seeing that yet. Maybe you guys can fill us in on that. But is this coming where there's going to be a reduction in workforce and potentially really, we know there'd probably be the more simple data entry functions maybe, but what potential accounting or finance entry-level jobs do we see going by the wayside in the next 2 to 4 years as our students are preparing to hit the workforce? Any of you, go ahead.
So a few really good point. And, you know, you hear, you read, it's like, okay, you know, white collar jobs are all going to be replaced by AI, and think of kind of that Terminator 2 scenario, but in the corporate workforce. But all of my panelists at some point in their initial things talked about advisory work, talked about higher value work. I really appreciate how Aruna brought up, you know, a SWOT analysis for your own kind of where does this fit in for you. And you mentioned retooling and upscaling. So the days of, you know, data entry are, if they're not already gone, they're numbered. So, you know, we have, as our technology has improved over the years, we have had, you know, had to repurpose how we train our staff and what we expect from our staff. Because again, even before AI, we had technologies that was doing a lot of the data entry for us. So how do we train and get people to be doing higher value advisory work earlier in their career? And because that's what, I mean, clients, again, I can only speak to public accounting because that's where I'm at, but clients don't want to pay you just to put their numbers on a form. I mean, eventually, yeah, there's programs that will do that. It's the analysis. It's the strategy. Is this right? Could you be doing it better? How is this going to impact your business? How is this going to impact your individual situation? How is this going to impact your estate plan? Like, bringing all of this together is where we find value. So, you know, knowing that there's this push for higher value work, knowing that there's this, you know, again, technology that's continuing to grow in its capacity, that's going to replace some of that entry level, you know, data entry process, is, you know, are you building the tools now that will make you, that set you apart to be able to do that advisory work earlier in your career? Back to what I said, communication. Can you form relationships with clients? Are you, you have to be a good accountant. You have to understand the basics, but going beyond that so that you can interpret, make recommendations, and advise clients. So that's the future. And, you know, we can't, but you got one thing that's definitely working for you that our industry sees. Like, if we stop hiring entry-level accountants, well, one day I want to retire. So if there's not people coming in behind us, then it all falls apart. So we still need good accountants. We still need a robust pipeline of talent, but that talent's going to look different. So that's why what I would encourage you at this stage of your career is, again, retooling and upscaling. What are, not relying upon these technologies, but understanding, you know, reading, understand what's going on in the market, being having a diverse standpoint. Because again, while I'm a tax, like technically I'm a tax CPA, believe it or not, when I'm interacting with my clients, tax is only taking about a third of the time of what I'm talking to them about. I've learned over the training is to do how to advise them in all different aspects of their business, all different aspects of their personal lives when it comes to how all this stuff fits together, helping them strategize. So thinking about that, having that mindset of I need to do more than just the, you know, again, you have to know the basics, you have to be a good accountant, but what other skills are you bringing to bear? And another thing I will tell you, sorry, I'm going a little long here, but you mentioned on the, back to the recruiting and the resumes. Don't make an assumption that experience you have isn't valuable or isn't marketable. I had a member on my, so again, I'm in 90% of my clients are in construction and real estate. I had a brilliant accountant who worked for me, and he didn't put on his resume that he worked for a construction company. I had to peel it out of him when we were interviewing. And his experience and his understanding of the industry of which I served made him such a valuable asset immediately. Because when I would bring him out, I brought him out to clients, to prospects much earlier than someone else would because he understood their business. He could talk to them about their business. He could relate to them. That made them instantly attracted to him of someone that's going to be on their team to serve them. So, and he was thinking in his resume, like, well, why would I put the fact that I was digging ditches on my resume when I'm trying to be an accountant? But that ended up being his most valuable asset in the interview process, and I was able to get higher realization from him immediately. So just think about that, get good feedback and guidance about your resume and who you're applying to and how those experiences you may have, when you don't think they're relevant, they could really be relevant. They could be very relevant.
So let me add, I think at this point I want to request Karishma. I'll ask you the question which you have researched, which is when AI becomes ubiquitous, what happens? You've done a lot of work around that, so why don't you share that with us?
Yeah, I think echo a lot of what Michael's been saying, and actually one step before that, accounting right now is in this beautiful place where senior accountants are retiring, fewer accountants are entering the workforce or are studying and entering the workforce, but the demand for accounting services and the premium people are willing to pay for good accounting services is increasing. So there is massive demand and less supply, which means good people entering have a premium. But now with technology and AI coming in, what are skills that can charge a premium versus skills that are now commoditized? And that completely echo what Michael's been talking about of, your judgment, your ability to communicate with clients, those have a high premium, and that's kind of what came out in the research report, that if I can automate the table stakes, but clients still want a human to talk to, clients still want to feel like a human is taking care of my problems, and I have a name and a face that's got my back, and will go above and beyond what I'm asking. And like you mentioned, there's a strategy work and thinking about your business comprehensively, not just the tax part of it. That came up as like a big value add. So I think as you're thinking about upskilling and capacity building and skills building, I think the softer elements are going to be, they've always been valuable. Now they're just going to become even more valuable. As you do more work, the experience, the judgment you bring that frankly AI doesn't have at this point, right? It's input in and output out with an LLM, but you are that, that delta. And very cool example with the construction. That guy had that delta of like, I've worked in construction and now I serve construction clients, right? So thinking about what is that extra you add and leaning heavily into training yourself on the soft skills and how do you create those relationships and how do you use your technical ability plus your relationship building to go further, I think will be super valuable.
All right, thank you for that, Michael and Karishma. And it warms my heart to hear that some people from the construction industry are doing well, because I was a ditch digger, efficient in the Razorback #2 for a number of years. And it has a lot to do with accounting, actually. It ties in more than you would ever imagine, right? It's repetitious, it's important, and there has to be good process flow and all kinds of things. So that's... And hard work ethic and all that. So that's wonderful, which is all things that will make you marketable, right? These are things, I know we're talking about AI, but these things, right, are what employers want to see. The honesty, the integrity, the hard work ethic, the positive mental attitude, right? The ability to get things done. How do we balance, one of my questions is, how do I balance the efficiencies that my job would demand or my supervisors may demand with my own creativity and knowledge, right? To have my own stamp on things as well, but to use efficiencies. How do we balance this, right? That's what I'm looking for in my career. Like, there's efficiencies, but I still want this to be me, right? That has to be me. It can't just be generalized for knowledge. that's a knowledge base that's out there, right? So these would be some of the things, that I would look at when I'm using AI, and we're having our students use that, right? I still want to see a personal approach. I do that within my graduate class. I have them do a project, but I want to, and I encourage them to use AI. Please, you can use this. There's writing, there's summarizing, there's stuff. Please go use it. Of course, you have to document all of your sources and make sure they're real sources, that they weren't hallucinated, right? But then I also want them to have feedback for me on how did AI work, right? Like, did you spend more time actually proving your sources and this than you could have just written this assignment yourself or done the research yourself? Right, so we find this balance that I think all of us are trying to find, and we need to make sure that this is evident in our daily jobs, right? That we still have ownership of what we're doing. We can use this as a tool. It can help certain things become more efficient, but this is still me. This is the product we're putting out there, is what I can produce, how I can help my firm, how I can help my client through the use of these tools.
So, Gary, you have heard me say this before, but I do want to say to everyone here, the accountants, you never want to say you're a creative accountant or an innovative accountant.
Yes, those are words to fight. All right, fighting words there. All right, moving on. Let's see. Now, I do have a question here that I will disclaim was not asked by me or Arindam, who are involved in our ESG study abroad, but we did have one of the students ask a question, and you may or may not have insight into this, panelists. To what extent should firms be responsible for the environmental impact of third-party AI vendors and cloud providers they rely on? Thoughts?
Honestly, it's a big question, and I wish I had an answer. And you read about the amount of energy it's costing. You see the memes of like me and ChatGPT had this conversation, but how much energy did that consume? And you read about maybe we want to go to space now and set up data centers in space. So it seems all a little bit crazy. I would like to think, as I've, in my limited understanding of technology, as technology evolves, the cost of it in terms of the environment as well as the dollars go down. I think there's some specific law, I can't remember the name. So I would optimistically hope that's true, and somewhere net in the balance, it's all positive. So that's sort of my limited view at this point, but I think it's something we all should educate ourselves more on. I feel like I need to educate myself more on it.
Thank you, Karishma. Anyone else want to lean into that one?
Professor, can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, to what extent should firms be responsible for the environmental impact of the companies, of third-party AI vendors and cloud providers that they rely on?
Yeah. So yeah, we know like these AI tools use massive amount of the electricity. So now the US government, the Trump administration, they are coming up with this new concept like make the LLM providers build their own power plants or power plants so that they can use the electricity for their data centers. And in that way, we can see like big companies, they will ultimately build their own nuclear power plants to run these AI systems and make it as accessible and cheaper.
Excellent. Thank you, Naga. And we know that companies with international business and subsidiaries now are facing, requirements for ESG reporting. So even domestic companies here that have international operations are going to have to face this question and, how they deal with those scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions and all of this that's going on internationally with regulations. And, we feel we'll be moving, across the globe at some point. So good question there from one of our board members. Thank you. let's see here. We've talked about some of this, but any specific, I do have one question on financial statements that you may or may not be able to answer, but this was, I think, ties into Asha's presentation. And it says, have you come across a company that uses AI to prepare its financial statements? And what auditing control, what has their auditing controls, what have the auditing controls look like to verify these numbers? Have any of you run across that where they've actually used AI, maybe even in a small business environment, Naga or something? I don't know, have any of you run into that?
You know, when it comes to financial statements, you know, client, again, I'm a tax guy, so, you know, a little over my skis, but ultimately, you know, it's the financial statements are the clients. So a lot of our clients try to, you know, save fees, and they draft their own financial statements. And then it's up to our auditors to go through and do their testing, do their processes to make sure that they're not materially misstated, and we can express, you know, the opinion that we need to. So to the extent they're utilizing AI in the drafting stage, I assume a fair amount of them are. If not, they used to just literally write them themselves. So again, I don't think at any stage in the process, whether it's on the client side or whether it's our process, utilizing AI is, as we've said over and over again, can be a very helpful tool, but ultimately there's ownership of the client because it's their financial statements, and there's ownership of the auditor that needs to opine on those, and that it needs to be done independent of the utilization of AI.
Thank you, Michael. Naga, did you want to add something?
Yes. So I draft financials for the smaller companies. So we provide the client accounting services to the clients, to the nonprofits. So I do not use the AI to prepare the front page of the profit and loss account and balance sheet cash flow, because AI can reproduce an incorrect number. So I will make sure like I will use exact exported version of the trial balance and financial profit and loss account and balance sheet. But I use the AI to draft my notes to the accounts, like financial policy or depreciation schedules, or like I want to record a major financial transaction and wanted to disclose in the financial reports. So in that case, I use the AI to make up the notes, and also to find the inconsistency in the numbers.
Thank you. And so your boss is just like you, are working 24 hours a day, right? You have an AI agent for that, do you?
That's the thing. It's not 24, 48 hours a day. Right. With all his agents everywhere.
Well, as we're winding down, I'm going to give you each a chance to maybe have a closing remark before we close. But I did want to, we had a question for Naga, and Naga, I want you to handle this individually directly after the event, because somebody wants to pick your brain on the AI agents you use and how you set them up. I think that would be a better one-on-one conversation for you with that person. So whoever wrote that question, maybe find you after the event, since we're running low on time. Yeah?
Yes, it is super simple. There is one tool I can tell. You can basically connect all your accounts, LinkedIn accounts, Gmail, but I customize one for my task list. I just tell like, create this task is completed, or this is the status of the task, and that is where like I organize my schedule.
Fantastic. We will learn more from you on that. So yes, I would like to have each of you, maybe we'll just go down the line, starting with you, Karishma, if you just have some closing remarks on today or some last minute advice or tips.
Yeah, I think I would say like I said at the start, and some of my panelists said as well, this technology it's here to stay, it's valuable, it's powerful, and there's no reason to be afraid of it. You're at an interesting point where you can play with it, understand it, leverage it, and use this time while you're, in school to figure what your skill set is and what your strengths are, and then use this time to double down on developing that, and how can AI be sort of your personal assistant almost and make you work the 48 hours in a day, right? So, but that requires you to have the growth mindset to learn it, and like I said earlier, play with it and treat it like play. So build a prototype or use ChatGPT or Claude or whatever for certain things, then review that work, build your own judgment of what is it good at, what is it not good at, where do I like the responses, where do I not like it, where is it generic, where is it adding value. Start developing that perspective so you can, when you start working, or most of us are already working, everybody is going to be using it. So now when everybody is using it, how are you the better user of it, and how are you getting more value out of it is also something to think about. And so those would be my closing words on just embrace it and have fun with it.
Thank you, Karishma. Michael?
Yeah, I really like the comment earlier, just from the time frame from skeptic to adoption, and that's getting shorter and shorter. I remember once upon a time when people were like, I don't want to put my stuff on the cloud. Like that was like a big thing, and people wanted all their data in their physical buildings. And now think about that. So again, this is here to stay. And so learning it, adapting, but remember, again, no matter what this tool does, each one of you has value, and you have an ability to bring value to an organization no matter what this technology does. It will take some retooling, it will take some upscaling, but I've said it over and over again, lean into the things that right now AI can't do. I mean, I guess people have relationships with AI. If that's your thing, then I'm not going to judge it. But so maybe the AI can provide that type of relationship if you're looking for. But I still think of the value my clients place on me being there, my team being there, helping them through difficult emotional conversations about what they're going to do with their business. Are they going to sell this? Are they going to transition it? I mean, just think about all the work that we do, that human connection and that ability to advise them and understand who they are, ask the right questions in that human relation, like that. There's a premium on that because there's less and less people who want to do that. So I would lean in your studies now of anytime you can be presenting, doing case studies, doing things, again, that are going to help that ability to you to stand out and do something a little bit different. But remember that don't be scared of this. Just figure out how to provide what it can't, and you will be successful.
Excellent. Thank you, Michael. Naga?
Yeah, I want to emphasize whatever you are learning on AI in the curriculum in the University of Washington, Tacoma, maybe in accounting or any other program, all the stuff is going to be useful to you in the future. So do not take it like, oh, I don't want this thing or I don't want to learn. I suggest focus more on those classes and keep doing what you are doing. You will be successful.
Thank you, Naga. Arindam, go ahead.
Yeah, I think, as I said, all of them have been in my class and they've pretty much covered everything. But I want to keep saying that take this as an opportunity and make it your strength. And in general, I believe, and this is paraphrasing Yoda, that the mind of a child is beautiful. And be like that. Keep absorbing, keep an open mind, keep learning. And that's how you keep building your strengths. Don't think of that if I'm learning something today, I'm going to use it right this moment. It's a building up of all your resources, all your skill sets, all your knowledge. It comes up and you're going to be using it anytime before you know. So keep learning and enjoy the process. I have had so many conversations with so many students that the best time is when you are at school. Explore, enjoy, and we always keep looking into the next step. Yeah, that'll all happen. When you're in school, you're looking for the job. When you're in the job, you're looking for the promotion. And we cease to live the moment. So enjoy your school time, enjoy learning, explore, and look into the possibilities. I think you'll grow the best if you keep that attitude. And AI is here to stay, but it's going to be a strength. It's not going to be a puzzle anymore. Yeah, thanks.
All right, thank you, Arindam. And can we have a big round of applause for our panelists today? Thank you so much for your wisdom. And as we close out, we also want to thank those who attended on live stream. Thank you for tuning in. And a special thank you to all of you that came in person. If you need CPE credit for this, please do make sure you sign back out on your way out. And if there's snacks and stuff available, do that. And we appreciate your time here. We hope you have a wonderful Friday and rest of your weekend. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
You're saying it goes nowhere but down from here?
Are these goodie bags for us?
We also have some upcoming events on the screen if you want to check that out for lunch and learns and learning opportunities.
So in